Secession should be discussed. I tell you, I have 200 things that I can put on the table that government does that I don't like. False flag terrorist attacks is one. Invasions of other countries is two. Toxic chemicals dumped in the air, on the ground, in our country and other countries. Poisoning our water. Pig virus in our vaccines. I named 200 of them. And I'm dying to make a video, but I have such a backlog of videos to make. I'm so pissed off about government. Secession cuts all the power and all the money to the federal government. It revokes all federal laws. It kicks the Federal Reserve out and their collection agency, the IRS. Secession ends runaway inflation and makes everything affordable again. Secession is tax relief. Secession means we stop sending money to Washington. We send it to the state capital, where all we have is a corrupt governor to deal with. I don't know if there is a law on the books that entitles the IRS to part of your pay. No tax attorney has ever found such a law. Yet they're tax attorneys and they're going to follow the tax code. Now Joe Bannister says IRS is bullshit. He worked for the IRS and he carried a gun and he took property away from people who asked, where is the law? So he asked his supervisors, where is the law? No one ever came up with the law. And so Joe Bannister stopped filing tax returns. And the IRS took him to court twice, and he whipped their ass each time. Now, Joe Bannister is advocating what he did. He says, I filed no tax returns. He says, I don't have to file a tax return. And the television interviewer says, how did you get away with it? He says, I'm not getting away with anything. There's no law on the books. And when you fill out a W-2, you're granting the IRS the right to take your money. This is bullshit. Congress should have stopped this in the 40s, and they didn't because they were all fucking bribed. Congress is corrupt to the core. Don't forget it. And that's why we need to tell them, take a fucking hike. It's over. No parachute for you. Get your ass out and get a job. If the federal government promised you a retirement and we don't fund the federal government, guess what happens to your fucking retirement? You're out on the streets along with the rest of the Americans who can't find a job. And that's good. You deserve to be on the streets, motherfucker. You betrayed the people every chance you got. You deserve to be jobless and homeless. And when we get control of those fucking chips, we're going to turn off your chips so you can't buy food. How do you like that, motherfucker? And when the 50 governors meet and we secede from the Union, your golden parachute has a hole in it. And you're going to come crashing down to the earth. You're not going to land gently with all the gold. You're going to plummet from the skies like Andy Perro did. A man without a parachute. I hope you have mastered the Silva method so you can heal your broken back like he did. When Joe Bannister beat the IRS twice, it indicated to me that not all judges are thoroughly corrupt, and that was a surprise. Because I thought all judges were corrupt. I thought all judges helped the Nazis. I thought they were all part of the same team, a crooked organization, a mafia that steals from the people. And all those federal judges are going to be without a job. And that's good. Let them go back to practicing law. Because we don't need corrupt judges. And we need to look into the decisions that each judge made to decide if their chip should be on or off. Because if they voted in favor of the Nazis on the IRS and any other case, we need to know this. This is part of the truth that we want spread around. We want to know who the Nazis' allies were, because we need to turn off their chip. Now, you judges who think it's such a great idea to chip all the people, just remember, one day, your record will be there for public scrutiny. Do you think you can destroy all the records of your cases? Every time you ruled in favor of the IRS, we're going to note it. And one day, we will have control of those chips. And yours is going to be flipped off. Now, just remember, Judge, we're coming to the time of civil revolution in this country. I have tried to talk these people who have guns out of a violent revolution, and I can't. They are adamant about killing you guys, you Nazis. The government and everyone allied to the government. All the criminals who sided with Nazis will be overwhelmed by the people. And it might be a good idea for you to take off your Nazi jacket and put on a people's jacket as soon as possible and announce to the world that you have wronged and that you're correcting your ways and that the IRS will no longer be favored in your decisions. And that the federal government must follow the Constitution from this day on. And we might forgive you, Judge, because we need you to do just that. We need you to make a public announcement that you are on the side of the people from now on and that the Constitution has the balls, not these fucking Nazis. We're going to look at your records, Judge, and we're going to determine if you should live or die, because there will be trials, I hope. I hope we can have trials. I hope that the gunned citizens don't just murder all of you. They may murder all of the judges. That's why I don't want a violent revolution. I would much rather they give a fair trial to those who are accused of siding with the Nazis. They did it in Germany, and they hanged a lot of people. A lot of people who just went along to get along, and they did whatever the Nazis told them, and they hanged. And that day is coming here in America. It's coming real fast. I hear Obama's tone changing. Now he's talking about due process, only that motherfucker wants to define what due process is. I think we have the motherfuckers running, scared. And so I say to all you judges, you better take heed, motherfucker. You better pay attention to what's going on in this country. Because the people have had enough. Times are bad and they're ready to kill. And I will do my best to speak out against violence and encourage everyone to take a nonviolent approach. Just spread the truth so that everybody knows who the good judges and the bad judges are. And we're going to be looking at you motherfuckers in the black robes all the way up to the Supreme Court. And if you were on the Supreme Court and you voted for this unconstitutional health care bill, giving the government access to the veins of the people and all the medicines and all the doctors and all the morgues so that they can kill without anybody talking about it, you on the Supreme Court might wind up long dong silver, dangling from a rope, letting it all hang out. When you motherfuckers fear the people, that's when we're going to have freedom returned and power back into the hands of the people. I have thought about this for decades. I have tried to hold back. I can't hold back anymore. And I think there are a lot of people in this society who just can't fucking hold back anymore. They're buying guns in record numbers. They're buying ammo. And if they have to use fucking bows and arrows, they're coming after you. And I doubt that they're going to give you a fair trial. So you better clean up your act now, side with the people, and make sure everyone knows that you are a constitutionalist and that the Nazis will no longer get away with their bullshit. And the parasites must resign. The Federal Reserve must be ended. And Congress needs to have some chutzpah in dealing with the IRS. If you people in Congress want to protect your own retirement, you need to start doing your job. Stop getting bribed, because we're going to find out the truth. When these Nazis are on trial and they start revealing who they paid, making a full confession in exchange for leniency, life in prison without execution, they're going to turn your asses in. Now, do you really think you're going to get away with the things you've gotten away with so far? Do you really think the Nazis have such totalitarian control over the people and that we're never going to find out? We're already finding out. The truth is coming out. The people will know all of the truth. And if you've been supporting the Nazis, you're finished. Not only will you not get your golden parachute retirement paid for by the people, but you'll spend the rest of your life in prison if they don't execute you on the spot. Up until now, you have had no fear of the people. You might want to start shitting in your boots, because the tide in America is turning. The ebb and flow of people power. The waves have come all the way into shore, and now they're going back out. It's a change in direction for this country. And you had better stand up and tell the world that you believe in the Constitution and that you are going to support the Constitution and keep your oath to the Constitution. Because if you don't make this public statement, we're going to consider you one of them. And they're going to prison. We're going to divorce the federal government with secession. The party is over, and the Democrats and Republicans can go with the federal government because we don't have any use for them in this new arrangement. Anyone in Congress who just couldn't stop spending can look to the federal government for their retirement income, because you guys broke this country and we need to part ways. Good luck, and I hope you find a job in this economy that you created. Maybe you can work for Monsanto. Ask them if they have 545 job openings for you in Congress and the Supreme Court. Because you've all betrayed this country. And your only hope of having a job might be Monsanto. Maybe you can help them design GMO crops that kill people, and maybe you guys can consume the products they produce. Because the 50 states are likely to ban GMO crops and fluoridated water as well. Maybe Alcoa will hire you in exchange for you passing laws to put rat poison in our drinking water. When the 50 states divorce the federal government and then reform under a new union without a federal government, One of those 50 states will be the first to invite those 6,000 inventors who came up with a free energy device or some other device which was seized by the government under the guise of national security. And the inventors were either killed, intimidated, impoverished, or robbed, as William Lyne reports in his book, because he was one of them. When one of those 50 states steps forward and says, "We invite you inventors to come to our state, we will patent your invention. If you have a free energy device, we'll pay your expenses in coming here. We'll buy you a home and give it to you free. You give us that device, because that device is valuable. It will save the citizens of our state so much money that we could give our elderly people a golden retirement that they deserve." And when the 50 states open up the doors and invite the inventors of the free energy devices, the U.S. Patent Office is dead at that point. The federal government is dead at that point, and it will be a brand new day in America. We can still be the United States, but not with the federal government. We don't have to defend ourselves against any invaders, because there aren't any. The superpower is the invader, and everyone hates us. And as soon as we break up into 50 states, they will understand that that superpower is dead. And we are now 50 states who will defend if we need to. The free energy devices will spread throughout the world, and they will render oil reserves almost worthless. We will still need oil to oil the electric motors that run free. And people will be able to get around for the cost of tires and maintenance on their free energy vehicles. What if Americans saved $4 a gallon? How much money would that be? What if that money was given to old people so that they had a real social security, so they can live out their lives? What if it generated so much money that we no longer need to collect social security taxes from people? What if that money was given to college students so they could get an education? What if fluoride was removed from their water so they're not stupid? What if everybody could go to college for free? What if money was given to entrepreneurs so they could start a business and hire workers? Would we all be better off with free energy devices? How long do you think it's going to be before one of the states says, we're going to secede from the Union, and we're going to open the door to those 6,000 inventions because we smell money? We think this will bring a prosperity to our state that we have never seen before. We can't wait to quit the USA and be the first state to open up the door to those 6,000 inventors. Did the governors think about this? Hell no, because they're all bribed. They're bribed by the Nazis. If the people on city council are bribed in Portland, Oregon, passing fluoridation laws secretly and against the law, do you think that the governors are also influenced by bribery? Swiss bank accounts? How many political leaders do you think have a Swiss bank account full of money? And who gave it to them? Those who benefit by screwing the public. It's time to hammer the governors to have this meeting. Secession should be discussed. I tell you, I have 200 things that I can put on the table that government does that I don't like. False flag terrorist attacks is one. Invasions of other countries is two. Toxic chemicals dumped in the air, on the ground, in our country and other countries. Poisoning our water. Pig virus in our vaccines. I named 200 of them. And I'm dying to make a video, but I have such a backlog of videos to make. I'm so pissed off about government. Secession cuts all the power and all the money to the federal government. It revokes all federal laws. It kicks the Federal Reserve out and their collection agency, the IRS. Secession ends runaway inflation and makes everything affordable again. Secession is tax relief. Secession means we stop sending money to Washington. We send it to the state capital where all we have is a corrupt governor to deal with. I don't know if there is a law on the books that entitles the IRS to part of your pay. No tax attorney has ever found such a law. Yet they're tax attorneys and they're going to follow the tax code. Now Joe Bannister says the IRS is bullshit. He worked for the IRS and he carried a gun and he took property away from people who asked, where is the law? So he asked his supervisors, where is the law? No one ever came up with the law. And so Joe Bannister stopped filing tax returns. And the IRS took him to court twice, and he whipped their ass each time. Now, Joe Bannister is advocating what he did. He says, I filed no tax returns. He says, I don't have to file a tax return. And the television interviewer says, how did you get away with it? He says, I'm not getting away with anything. There's no law on the books. And when you fill out a W-2, you're granting the IRS the right to take your money. This is bullshit. Congress should have stopped this.